Hello and welcome to this free TF, which we are going to...
It's the free one.
Unlike what my fine colleague has just done here, I wanted to start on a more somber note.
Fine colleague.
My colleague.
My 10 out of 10 dime piece baddie colleague.
That's right. My caked up colleague.
my twink colleague.
Yeah, to be true. To be fair, with that recent picture of you in the car, yes, my Twinkie colleague.
I'm so much twinkier there. A 23-year-old twink Milo, R.I.P.
No. This is... I want to strike a somber note because there's been a person who I think has been with us for a lot of the life of this podcast. And while we may not have always agreed with what he did, I think we have to accept that he provided us with a real sense of purpose in giving us something to understand the world in relation to and to work against. And I think without him...
Yeah, he gave us permission to be weird.
Without him, I don't think we'd be where we are today. And so I just want to take this moment to commemorate...
Charlie Palmer died.
To commemorate that Rajiv Misra, the architect of the SoftBank Vision Fund, has left his job at SoftBank.
Pouring some out.
Yep.
Pouring
this is
some
the worst
out.
and only resignation to happen this month.
Look, man, the Summer of Morbius takes more victims. R.I.P. to a real one. But maybe, I don't know.
He went out like Stan Shara.
Finally.
Maybe, was like part of the Great Resignation, right? So maybe he's decided that he wants to spend take some stock, maybe start a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He really got into baking during the lockdown, and he just decided that that's what his calling in life is, and not giving billions of dollars of funding to an app that makes a Wi-Fi connected toilet. So, you know what? Like, I appreciate this positive cottagecore turn in his life, and like you said, this is the only resignation that matters right now. So I feel like this episode's done. Time to riff.
Yep.
Bye.
Well, so if by cottagecore, of course, you mean move to the Emirates and just open up another fund there, but not at SoftBank. That is, of course, what he's done.
I assume they have cottages in the Emirates. It's
When you've got as much money as Rajiv Misra and you're used to living in like fucking Belgravia or whatever, why the fuck would you agree to move to the Emirates? Because you don't need the money, and as a country, it's hell on earth. Like, what is the...
I mean...
Just really, I don't know, just really enjoying the prospect of living somewhere that's entirely dependent on desalinization to get the water in and giant fleets of trucks to get the shit out.
If you have money and you're in the Emirates, like it's a very different life to kind of just like, you know, being there normally, even if you're sort of like somewhat rich in like the West, like going there normally, it's like hell on earth and you shouldn't do it. But if you're like, if you have like insane amounts of money, you can basically just sort of live a life that is tailored towards you. And like the Emirate, the government will like literally give you anything you want in order to ensure that. So
sort of like the metaverse, you know, you can just have any experience that you can just go up to someone, you'd be like, hey, can I kill a guy?
You can meet Nick Clegg.
The Emirates to a lot of these guys is basically just like a safe space for them to be told that like, you know, they're really good and special and their innovations are really worth it. And like, if you want to go to a place with loads of stupid startups, like go there. Like there's tons of them.
It's a brutal idea to go up to the fixer, the guy who can get you anything and be like, could you just tell me I'm like a good person?
I think for the next Dubai Expo, they should build a giant Nick Clegg.
Yeah, perfect.
That you can talk to and hang out with.
We've built the robotic Nick Clegg that's stampeding throughout town. Now, before I sort of move off this SoftBank thing, I think there might have been some more resignations and some other stuff happening.
What?
No. I'd like to add that...
I don't pay attention to that
I'd like to add that this is like good news for us because the only person who's more insane than Rajiv Misra is taking over management of the SoftBank Vision Fund, and that is Masayoshi Son himself. So
he's back, baby.
Very excited to see him, I don't know, create some kind of, you know, moon rock mining startup, but then forget to give anyone a spacesuit. Very excited.
Yeah, if you ever wondered if we were going to run out of startups, Masayoshi-san single-handedly guaranteed our future of doing the startup segment.
So look, here's the thing. I have just enjoyed doing a small, what they call in the industry, a fake out. Because, of course, what we have to talk about is all our Borises gone.
They found out you could use 3 slurp juices on a single Boris Johnson.
Yeah, and that he could not be allowed to stay in office.
Just at the perfect time to own me about it too, because he had been holding on by his fingernails for so long that it seemed like the whole constitutional order of like convention and custom, and we're asking you really nicely, we don't, we're going to miss you, but we think you ought to go, sort of thing. I thought he was just going to hold on for long enough to make all of that moot, and instead, mere moments after I posted, he's just going to hold on forever, he fucking resigned. Cunt.
I hate being owned because also my assumption was post vote of no confidence, he would just say, fuck you, you can't remove me. And would the 1922 committee actually change the rules? Maybe, but until they actually did that, there was no mechanism by which they could get him to go except shame. And
And as we know, shame does not
It does not work on Boris
I don't
Johnson.
know what they did. I don't know what they did that
I'll tell you what
worked.
they did is that everyone resigned and he couldn't fill the jobs in his government. So he would have been like having, with hundreds of MPs, of Tory MPs in Parliament, it would have been like splitting the jobs among like a Lib Dem number of frontbenchers. Just being like, okay, you, like Nadine Dorries, you have 4 different ministerial posts, and so on and so on.
I think she could have held all of the great offices of state at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would have liked to have seen it.
Look, if there's one thing I think that if there's one thing that I believe, it is that at this point, the British Constitution, such as it is or isn't,
Does not exist.
And a lot of
does not. I spent so long studying, like in law school, right? 2 things that I studied the most: constitutional law and EU law. One of them is now useless to me. The other one is now proven to have never existed. Because, like, the study of the British Constitution has depended entirely on constitutional lawyers and constitutional academics sucking themselves off about how good it is, how flexible it is, because it's based on custom and it's unwritten and it's, it infers a sort of a social consequence rather than a legal consequence. And then it turned out, if you just ignore that, nothing
Well, if it doesn't
happens.
confer a legal consequence, that sort of makes it not the law, doesn't it? That's one of the big issues with it as a legal
Yeah,
discipline.
well, that's the thing. I did an LLB, which stands for like a Bachelor of Law and also Vibes, so both laws.
my take was, of course, that it's good that this is happening. This is clearly dead weight, and the more that this bumbling clown can just fuck up and be weird and discredit it, the better. And the better, yeah.
Oh, sure. It discredits and it damages the institutions that we all, hate, which is great.
I thought the funniest tweet about this was Andy Burnham, who managed to be incredibly cringe and go like something like classic sense of Eton entitlement or something. And it's like, no, he's so much of a weirder guy than that. You don't understand types of Eton guys love resigning and being like, my honor has forced me to, like, it's the least Eton thing.
It was him against a couple of dozen, like a battalion of Eton guys, and they were locked in there with him.
Exactly, yeah.
He just wouldn't go because he had even less shame than any of them.
All politicians should have to do a mandatory course in podcasting so that they understand types of guy. I will not have people keep just lazily bleating the word Eton as though it means anything anymore. Come up with a better taxonomy.
So we were there for a lot of Boris Johnson. Like, we can remember, we're running the little slideshow now.
I mean, this show predates Boris Johnson being prime minister, obviously, and we sort of, I believe, we predicted that in the sort of morass of 2019, there was one reason and one reason only why Boris Johnson was going to be made prime minister, and we didn't ever believe that anyone else was going to be prime minister when the Tories were picking a replacement for Theresa May.
Yeah, I think we got his
and our take was basically Boris Johnson is the cry laugh emoji prime ministerial candidate, and that's who they want because they have to go against a guy, call it a non-traditional, non-standard politician who has that sort of like anti-establishment edge. So what do? You get Just William and you make him the prime minister, which is what they did. And now we've lived in the consequences of that. He ran an election and basically they just did every lie, cheat and steal fucking bullshit thing, pull all the strings, they possibly could. Just absolutely.
Which is the kind of thing that the British Constitution was has developed to enable, right? That's why I'm not sad about it, withering.
But I think that ultimately they probably published a manifesto that basically said nothing but do Brexit, make it illegal to be a traveler, and nothing else. He drove a JCB through a bunch of foam bricks that said Brexit. And that was what the hogs wanted, and we
where it's due. That was good.
And now we live in the consequence of it. And so I feel like watching Boris Johnson finally run out of usefulness, if you will, that's the most interesting part, because to me it felt like once the sort of like actual brain power in the Tory party and the Murdoch papers and all that shit, like they had a guy who was pretty useful to them. You know what I mean? Like, he was scandal proof. He could do anything, and he didn't want to do anything. He certainly didn't want to work, but like he was scandal proof. And they
thing is, when you've had this many scandals, you build up a sort of immunity. It's like Mithridates and poison, and nobody's interested.
I don't know, man. Like he just, it's amazing to me, but you'd think they would have wanted to get more mileage out of him, but it seems as though actually they picked an arbitrary thing, but he finally just pissed them off too much.
It's like a mob movie. No loyalty, no honor.
But it's like a mob movie where like fully it's well past the walking down the street in your bathrobe phase. It's like the walking down the street in your bathrobe phase after you've shit in literally everyone's mailbox. Like, and at a certain point, I think they just got tired of him. But I don't know. Like, I'm not a Tory Kremlinology person. It just seemed as though they had the advantage of a guy who was shame-proof. And
now they're throwing it away.
Throwing it all away.
For what? For whom? For which of these band of freaks and psychos shall lead our country next?
Liz Truss.
Absent the possibility that Boris either tries to cling on or tries to effect some sort of comeback down the line, of which, never count out touchdown Tom. Don't rule it out.
Boris Johnson and Donald Trump back in the same term. What a vibe that would be.
Come on, don't threaten me with a good time.
But it becomes like breathing, right? You have 4 or 5 years of these guys, and then you have 4 or 5 years of the same people but normal, and then you go. It just it repeats in that cycle.
This fits into my understanding of the sort of the cycle that British politics has basically been in since Thatcher, which is a massive sort of program of sort of Tory vandalism, of ripping and tearing things up to basically wind down the state as a going concern, to drive down prices, to drive down wages rather.
Yeah, the fire sale, sure.
And then what happens, of course, is Labour and the technocrats come in to fix it all up and make it work and try to fund it just enough to make it all take over. Until which point,
that's a great act. What do you call it? The technocrats.
Until which point, as all of the this impulse to demolish the country in which they live, to rip the copper wire out of the walls, just builds up so much that everyone gets so bored with and mad at the technocrats that they hate, that they bring in a bunch more vandals who then do a bunch more vandalism. And at this point, I think realistically, in terms of the long structural cycles of British politics, we are back at the stage where the technocrats are going to default in because everyone's tired of the vandalism. And then what they're going to do is they're just going to take all of the vandalism, like, for example, the Rwanda flights, or the sort of insane new trade relationship that we have with our close neighbors.
The Rwanda flights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're going to come in and carbon offset the Rwanda flights by essentially making all of this policy, all of these new policy space that have been opened up, assuming, well, that's just what it is. That's now settled. It would be divisive for us to go back on it. People got that stuff because they voted for it because they liked it. And if we don't keep what they liked, they won't vote for us again. And so you just sort of make it work and you institutionalize it and you make it very official. And
what if the same policy but administered semi-competently?
And then 4 years later, 5 years later, however many years later, once again, the boring technocrats are going to people are going to get stirred up again. There's going to be another inexcusable thing that is happening, that's been happening under the watch of the boring technocrats, and another round of vandalism will happen.
Am I the inexcusable thing? I think I'm the inexcusable thing. I hate being the inexcusable thing.
So I would say also, when I think about what caused this, let's not forget, because a lot of people listening to the show aren't British, that the notional reason why there was this rebellion in Johnson's cabinet was because one of the conservative deputy whips was apparently known to be a sex pest. And
atrocious.
Abusing men, against touching them and harassing them again without consent. And not only did Johnson apparently know this, he then lied to the cabinet about the fact that he knew, and then also
he laughed it off at the
time. And
he
basically,
was like, the guy's name was Chris Pincher, and Boris liked it Pincher by name, Pincher by nature.
And basically, there was apparently another quote that he said that like it's actually like I only want sex pests or something like that.
And all the sex pests love me.
Yeah, exactly. Because and basically, it's sort of a blackmail and control kind of thing.
That's kind of a Trump line. Oh, the sex pests, they love me. They
love
sound
me.
very good.
Some of them are very fine people.
The thing is, everyone knew about this. Everyone knew that everyone knew about this. A lot of the lobby journalists knew about this. Everyone knew that every single other scandal of Boris's, they all knew about it the whole time. And yet, if you pointed this out in 2019. Then you would have been called a conspiracy theorist.
Also, but the last point I want to make, though, is to me the real reason is right now, for the first time, Johnson is actually seeming like an albatross around their neck because they just had 2 by-elections in Wakefield and in Tiverton and Honiton, where in one case they lost a seat to Labor, and in another seat they lost a seat to the Liberal Democrats. And in the case of Tiverton and Honiton, it was like a 24,000 vote majority got overturned. So, granted, that was a loss to the Lib Dems, but there is, I think, some anxiety about the fact that their polling has, in fact, been quite bad. But that, I think, so much of that also is what's been going on in this country with cost of living and then just general stupidity of nothing working. And it does feel like you said, Riley, like finally, after all the vandalism, the guys chasing the warriors, which in this case is the Conservative Party, are the guys in the fucking Cadillac hearse. They have clanked the bottles together and said warriors come out and play so many times. The wheels have finally fallen off the fucked up car they drive. And so now you're stuck with this hulk of a car. And so Labor's got to come in and say, actually, this is the best car that could ever exist.
Labour being the roller skating gang.
Yeah, the baseball furies. They're definitely the baseball furies. They love America and they love getting killed by trains. I have no idea what the fuck I'm going with that.
Two things, right? First thing, Johnson was finally knifed. He was finally brought down by the coordinated resignations of Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid, right? Sajid Javid has since explained himself.
The Saj.
Yeah, he's claimed 2 things. First thing, that the resignation with Rishi was not coordinated, right? Which is a flat lie. Second thing, he was inspired to resign after hearing a House of Commons sermon about integrity.
Amazing.
And he had a sort of a Damascene conversion, right? Where he was like, wait a second, this guy I've been a senior minister for. It's actually been a piece of shit the whole time.
I am more willing to believe in the fucking Cheech and Chong nice dreams strain of weed that turns you into an iguana than the idea that a Tory MP has a fucking Damascene conversion because of a sermon given in Parliament. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just... You know what? I will just pass the microphone because the level of just shut the fuck. What the fuck is wrong with just losing my mind at these people? Like the credulousness and just the fact that anything they say is treated with any seriousness.
Sajid Javid.
That's what he
heard a great speech by Keir Starmer in which Keir was advocating for the adherence to the Nolan principles of conduct in public office, a return to the Nolan principles to which we all agreed when we were elected.
And if we want to talk about resignation letters as well, I mean, Rishi's resignation letter was essentially didn't mention any of the conduct stuff at all. I mean, again,
it'd have a huge picture of his own head on it.
That's right. But what you have, I mean, again, assume all of these people are completely cynical backstabbers who've done nothing basically but be in sort of different forms of student politics for most of their life.
All of these people have been in a knife Boris knife emoji group chat for the past 7 years minimum.
And so essentially, right. But if you look at what the resignation letters, it's how they're pitching, right? So Sajid Javid said, yes, Boris, you were so important in stopping the specter of Corbynism because, absolutely that was going to be worse than this. And of course, and with Rishi, he said, Boris, I'm afraid you put taxes up too high. We're not doing austerity like we should have done. All of us have the memory of goldfish. And
now Rishi is being sworn as a socialist chancellor by Jacob Rees-Mogg, which is fucking great. I love politics.
I can believe that Jacob Rees-Mogg earnestly believes that Rishi Sunak is a socialist, but of course Jacob Rees-Mogg is insane. Jacob Rees-Mogg is out of his mind.
I want to make a prediction, which is that if Jacob Rees-Mogg managed to become the Tory party leader, I actually think, unlike what the smart guy Sam F or whatever who can't cook a chicken and posts his food gore pics thinks, I don't think it would lead to electoral annihilation. I actually think nothing after what we have experienced in the last 4 years can convince me that the British public is somehow going to come to their senses and not elect a haunted Victorian children's doll Jacob Rees-Mogg Prime Minister. Genuinely.
That's true.
Genuinely.
That's
true. You cannot tell me they wouldn't vote for him.
We have hit rock bottom, I think. I think we found that there is no one who the British public would not elect, apart from a quite nice man who wanted to make their lives a little bit better.
Jiminy Crimbly.
Jiminy
Crobbins. And I think that the other thing to sort of, I don't really care about his resignation speech, which was essentially, again, self-congratulatory and self-pitying.
Pens the brakes.
Exactly. In the same.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. But I will tell you all about it when I see you again.
It's
He should have gone off to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that would have been cool. Number one. But I think that there is and of course, again, the lobby journalists sort of said, what a dignified speech, as he came out and was like, it's everyone's fault for uniting against me. You're all bad friends.
The lobby journalists all said, what a dignified speech, and then got 15 texts at once from various conservatives who were like, that was fucking disgraceful, and immediately changed their minds, which was a great moment in our sort of political stenography.
It really is just a wonderful view into a functional state, isn't it?
Well, also just to bear in mind that he resigned on the day of the Spectator Garden Party as well, which is like a very small thing, but also incredibly funny
it's
to
a
me.
Huge thing, because they all had to go and like get drunk and pretend to be like friends with one another while sort of all actively running around, again, half cut, while trying to make alliances.
That's the perfect sort of Armando Iannucci moment, right? As everyone is plotting, everyone is running around, everyone is making phone calls to fuck each other over.
It was also like it was also just a very good example, because I saw some of the photos that came, because they post the photos like afterwards, and like this one was obviously quite interesting because you're sort of trying to spot like who's in and who isn't. Within that, you sort of have like people who have at the time hadn't announced that they were going to run for the leadership, but like definitely are now. So like you can definitely imagine that they used that time to sort of like talk to lobby people about support and all that stuff. But a lot of it was always incredibly theatrical in the way that like the Spectator Garden Party is by nature. By nature, not least because you have like Allegra Strassen, who like is she a godmother of like Rishi's kids, or like it just has just has like a very close relation. Yeah, they all kind of like are godparents of each other's things. Yeah. So and then you have like Allegra Strassen the day afterwards just being like, oh, we don't know when Rishi Sunak's like very slick video came out to announce his leadership, and it's just like, you can text him on your private number and ask. Like, you don't have to post any of this. Like, what do you expect is going to happen when you post this stuff where you're pretending that you don't have like this incredibly personal relationship with all of, like, it? Yeah,
because everyone can see it. Everyone knows, and they've made the judgment correctly that it doesn't matter.
Ready for Rishi.
The thing I kind of wanted to say, which is like about Boris, but also is just kind of like, something to bear in mind as we sort of watch like this play out, this like this kind of like very bad theater show play out over the next few months, is that like one of the reasons why like Boris was able to stick for so long is because like he kind of like he kind of knew everyone, but crucially, like this was the Johnson kind of administration was also really one of the first formal administrations where like media and politics really sort of intertwined, right? Because he was like the Spectator editor, but he was also just like someone who knew people in media in such a kind of like in-depth and innate way that their interactions with him would just be fundamentally different, because ultimately they just saw him as like one of them, right? And like where those lines kind of blurred, then you end up in a situation where like they are like the media generally like a lot easier on him than they would necessarily be to other like people. I don't know whether that will like apply to others in the Tory party, but I do imagine that like the kind of relationship that, depending on who gets elected anyway, the type of relationship that they will have with like the new Tory leader will be very, very different to him, clearly, just because those lines like blurred a lot over like the kind of period of time that Boris was around.
Do you think now it's possible to get. I don't think really it's possible for if you are committed to governing within the bounds of what is acceptable to do. I don't think it's possible to do anything other than what he did, which is basically governed by press release. And what happened to him is the negative press releases just began to outnumber the positive press releases. But that's really all he ever did.
And let's not pretend the press wasn't trying. I mean, I can just think of if we could literally play a round the table game for the rest of the episode if we wanted to. We're not going to, but we could, where it's like keeping the ball aloft of just one after another, remembering stupid anecdotes or dumb fucking things people said, like in support of Johnson or like as a part of sort of the Johnson electioneering. Like, of course, would you nationalize sausages comes to mind. But I was thinking when Hussein, when you said about him, the sort of media intertwined stuff, like, I also think that the extent to which so much of it was just like the idea that Boris Johnson just embodied, Britain being important again and Britain mattering again. When the Sun, granted it's tabloids, but the Sun running, a photo of Boris Johnson's face superimposed on the Sun saying it'd be like a bright morning for Britain, or like when he, failed to pull out for the 19th time and the fucking, I want to say it was the Telegraph. I want to say it was, God, I can't remember her name, but is one of these insane columnists who Alison Pearson, who referred to his either sixth or seventh child as a bouncing baby Brexit boy. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Like, who gives a shit? But like that's the level of what you would get in coverage. Just constantly, just like hyping it up in a way that had no like it wasn't just that it was style over substance. There was no pretense there was any substance whatsoever. Boris Johnson just gave you like naughty Churchill vibes apparently, and that was all that mattered.
Remember the time he had a domestic with his then girlfriend, and the people, their neighbors who called the cops, got monstered by the press in response?
Yeah, and also
meet the labor activists who fucking
and also like it was kind of it was that sort of Guido Sun nexus where it's crucially just like, well, you've got Harry Cole who like was the ex-boyfriend or husband or whatever
the most
of the
cucked man in British political history.
And then I don't know what his name was, but like the Godfather, right? So it's like you still got the same problem of okay, you've got well, I don't fucking know, but like you've got like these people who are so sort of like personally connected, just pretending that like they have this distance when like everyone who sort of reads it, who is aware of it, is just like, this is truly insane how you're just pretending, but like you don't know what's going on. And whenever you sort of like bring this up to any of these people, they'll either like ignore you, or they'll kind of say, if they do ever address it, that we take our jobs very professionally and seriously. So like when it comes, So when it comes to work matters, like I can keep that separation. But it's like no, because like the way that the lobby has worked, and crucially over the past like 5 years at least, like the way that the Conservative Party have like used the lobby to kind of like to like avoid accountability and basically play access with them in such a way that like they have no choice but to like assent to it. Like that is so obvious to anyone who like even has any remote like understanding of how media works. And the fact that like this theater is played for so long is just like truly exhausting, because again, like they'll either just ignore you, or they'll sort of just like make asinine comments which are like objectively untrue. I don't know whether this will necessarily apply to like whoever comes next, only because I was going to say, and I'll end this there, because like again I could talk about this for like an entire episode too. I don't think that Johnson necessarily like represented like this sort of like Churchillian character, or in as sincere a way as like some Sun headlines would have us. What he kind of represented was like a validation among lots of journalists who don't really have any idea of like what this country looks like or how it works, like what the people here would like it to think, and like that sort of level of insularity that really only comes when you spend so much time in Westminster, or like within Westminster circles, that you just like have no idea how real people work beyond those sound bites, or like how they sort of interact with politics on a day-by-day basis. Like I think what he did and what his administration did was just really validate that worldview, to the point where like now that's sort of how they function.
And the way that the reason that this works, right, is that like we have to remember what I think 2019 fundamentally represented, and that only is becoming more and more clear in retrospect. Or specifically the election of Keir Starmer as Labour leader, the total severing of British politics from any kind of material concern. Where in the place of the politics in the place of shifting the boundaries of what is acceptable to beyond what will work, has meant that what fills it in is lurid personal stories, ludicrous shenanigans, and then, as you say, Hussein, like these people just pretending not to know one another, but essentially just having a little friend group squabble where we just determine who gets to have a go on the social murder machine for the next several years.
Yeah, the social murder Sibian.
Yeah, the only interaction that politics can have with the real world is to make it worse. For
but
real people.
I mean, maybe I should ask Milo this, because you are, of course, the resident Anglo vibes expert. Although Alice, Hussein,
I'm consulting.
You basically, it's like the star chamber of the three of you in terms of figuring out the type of guy, the type of brain. But like, part of me just wonders, in my less generous moments when I sort of am, feeling like just throwing in the towel about this stuff, that like, I mean, America fucking sucks, and we elected a senile racist game show host as our president, and I feel like nothing could be more American than a senile racist TV show host being president.
And now we've gotten rid of the game show host part.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We have heard you, and we have gotten rid of the one part of that you find objectionable.
But I was going to say, like, is there just a thing in the water here that people basically, like, are just willing to accept anything if it lets them think that they're being governed by like a naughty schoolboy who fucks? Because that's Boris Johnson is just like a 50-year-old man in short trousers and like a fucking, like, basically a primary school uniform.
Yeah, he's
who,
got one of those caps with the propeller on the top.
Exactly, cap with the propeller, but he cannot stop fucking, and he's got like, he's just shagging left and right, like endless numbers of kids. No one knows how many kids he's got. Like, there's something about that just seems like it wouldn't work in America.
He's kind of an aberration, though, in terms of actual prime ministers. I think he's much more like a kind of like a backbench or maybe a front bench MP at a push. Like that's definitely like a type of guy you get.
But
in
what I'm
British
trying to say
politics
though
a
is
lot.
that like Trump is an aberration as president in terms of that actually being the president of the United States, but he's not an aberration in terms of type of fucking American guy. There's just like, it would have to be the most like vulgar Marxist critique of America, basically, that derives a situation in which you get, you basically get like racist $64,000 question host is your president now. And I feel like Boris Johnson...
I see what you're saying, but Boris isn't like the id of Britain in the same way that Trump is the id of the United States, or much of it, because he fucks too much. And it is weird, and I think I agree with Milo. It is like, I can only attribute it to, him having, the heart of the Turk or whatever. That he has that like Ottoman spirit in him that makes him want to fuck
I
a
think
lot.
genuinely it was that it was time for the vandalism, and he was a basically famous and didn't have any shame, and that's all that you needed.
He was a famous posh guy, and like he's the kind of posh guy that like British people, or like lots of British people, seem to really like. But for reasons that sort of go beyond me, but the type of posh guy that like dresses like shit, has a house that like is breaking and just smells of damp all the time, just like owns lots of like crap, like shit in their house.
30-year-old Volvo.
Yeah, like not like, I guess I don't know whether that's like old money. I don't even know like what type, how you would sort of separate it or anything. But yeah, he's a certain kind of British rich guy that like I'm sure maybe one of the listeners has more of an insight into. But like it's definitely familiar if you've like sort of grown up in areas, at least, I can only speak about the South, but like in the South there are like, or in the Southeast, in Kent and stuff, like
it's
you have those
definitely
types
an old
of
money thing.
Yeah,
it's an old money thing because of his like carelessness, I would say.
Well, I'd like to move on from Johnson in particular, right, to sort of a lot of to the so what.
To which of these freaks shall lead us?
Not just which of these freaks shall lead us, but like I think the roots of this. I mean, the roots of this particular thing are very much deeply inside Johnson and his own characteristics, because of the way that he rose and fell was essentially that he's a creature of the papers, and that Britain is a nation that is weirdly deferential to papers, and we needed to have our vandal be the person who'd be, deferential to the papers. What is very shocking, not very shocking, in fact, completely unshocking, totally unsurprising, is the extent to which there is this campaign now that the aberration is gone, the unusually rude man who has just enough shame to have left after being an embarrassment for a while is gone, that somehow normal.
Yeah, we can get back to normal now, and normal is doing all of the same shit.
Yeah, and that realistically, right? That there has been a slow-rolled constitutional quote unquote, because there isn't really one, but there has been this crisis of British government that has now been happening for decades and decades. I mean, it depends when you want to start I tend to start the clock at Thatcherism largely because we can see the long-term effect of Thatcherism was that the British state is no longer able to sustain productivity because if we have factories, we'll have unions, and unions are bad. Instead, what we're going to do is be the world capital of financialization, and we're going to start by doing it to ourselves, which means that basically, we think we've been eating well, but we've just been eating our own arms and legs and torso, and we're sort of now just running out of rib meat, right? That's where I put the constitutional crisis starting, because we've been trying to run a marathon while sustaining ourselves only on eating our own legs.
Let's just establish some baseline things here. This is probably not new information to you if you are in the United Kingdom. It might be if you're outside of this country. Wage growth in this country is not just stagnant since the 2008 crisis. If you adjust for inflation, wage growth is negative. This country has the worst income inequality in Western Europe. When it was a member of the EU, it had the worst regional inequality of any country in the EU. When you think about the regional inequality that must exist in a country like fucking Romania, no, Britain is far, far worse.
Yeah, we spend more of our income on our rent than any other country in Europe, I believe.
Yes, we have the worst quality housing stock in Europe in terms of age, serviceability, insulation.
If you don't like your house, move to Britain and pay more for
worse. We also have, as Alice said, some of the most expensive. I'm not sure if we have the most expensive real estate. Southern England absolutely has the most expensive real estate in Europe. I would also say a couple other points. At present, I believe we are presently paying more for energy than any other country in Europe.
And we're going to pay even more soon.
We are going to pay even more soon. In October, it's going to go up again. It's estimated between 33 and 50% of children in this country live in poverty. The overwhelming majority of people in this country who are in poverty are in work. I don't care if you're in work or not, because a government allowing poverty to happen is a choice that government is making. And in the UK's case, it's incredibly egregious. But even if you were like a fucking guy who thinks Singapore is the best country on the planet, like, people in this country do work. It's just that the cost of living is so high and wages are so low. So we are now, like, it's not even sick man of Europe. Like, you're in a situation where things have not gotten better for so long that the only thing really holding this country together is that they keep inflating the housing market. I really genuinely believe that. I mean, you've had huge supply chain crises and labor crises this year because they depended so long on the ability to import the cheapest of cheap labor from the EU, and they can't anymore because they cut off their nose to spite their face and own the libs. And no country in the EU benefited from the labor arbitrage more than the UK did. So, like, it's obscene what they got away with, and they still said no. We'd rather be even more racist, and we hate Poles and Romanians so much that we're going to force a huge labor shortage on ourselves. Like, it's a nightmare. The point I'm trying to make here is that this country, it's very, very difficult to find any, like, positive direction, like good news about this country. Genuinely, like to find good news about the overall outlook of the UK's economic and political situation, you have to go for one of those, like, insane macro listicles that'll be like, whoa, death rates have reduced 99.9% since 1381.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and that's been every, like, piece of sort of lobby journalism about the economy.
And so the situation is so dire, and I feel like that doesn't get communicated because so often the way that it's represented in this country is basically like, if you present a case of how dire things actually are, it's either I remember the milkman boomer memes or will you nationalize sausages? The media in this country and politics in this country just pretends it didn't hear you.
Well, I'll give you an example of how that is happening in real life, which is I've recently seen a Victoria Spratt, former guest on this show and housing journalist, described as a campaigner and activist because she describes what housing is really like.
Amazing.
If you're able to identify what a house is in this country, if you can do the sort of, like, year one drawing of, like, a house with windows and a door and a little roof, maybe with your family outside and stick figure, That's activism.
Because we talked about this a lot, right? That fundamentally in Britain we have a swine mentality, we have a filthy hog mentality, which is that no matter how terrible and shit our lives are, no matter how much swill we consume, no matter how much mud and piss and shit we bathe in, that it is what we deserve, and that better than this cannot be imagined.
Again, sorry, I want to emphasize, right, that this mentality is core to the cycle of people. This mentality is core to the cycle of you read the news, you get agitated by the news, then you pick the person who's going to beat you senseless, right? That's core to that mentality. And
Yes.
I think this is why there are other mentalities, which we'll talk about in a little bit, mostly to do with labor organizing, which is not a swine mentality, the opposite. But what I think if we're talking
of a
about
pig.
is that where this
hawk.
big black hole, right? There's a big empty void at the center of Britain, of British society, of all of this. It is.
Yeah, we have to band together to fill Britain's politics hole.
Yeah, well, indeed, and
that's
this is why, as the politics hole tends to be filled with ludicrous shenanigans, spectacle, personality, and so on, because we decided it was the right thing to do to eat our legs before running the marathon in order to get some energy for the marathon, and that we are unwilling to recognize that was a bad choice politically because, well, just if only because everyone's
what
cozy
would
little
you have eaten then, genius?
yeah, everyone's cozy little life depends on no one ever recognizing that fact. And this is why, like, when I see the sort of Johnson going, and you remember, like, wait a minute, has the government served a full term since 2015?
Because
No.
Britain's politics hole used to be filled with Johnson,
That's
but
right.
now without that, our politics hole is left to gape.
Well, and what's very
Mike
and I mean,
Gapes is coming back.
and our politics hole used to be filled with Brexit as well, but everyone's kind of agrees on that now. There's no more.
Yeah, it's like settled law, which is in itself, like, that's another example of the ratchet, right? It only tightens, it never loosens. So, Rwanda, deportations to Rwanda, those are baked in now. That's settled because we've almost done it once, and therefore we have to keep doing it forever. And in fact, maybe we have to do more of it.
The thing is, it's either this constant invented fake crises, ludicrous shenanigans. It's just gonna keep coming. Because all of the people who guard all of the official levers of power are all committed to making sure that nothing gets fixed and that we're driving this car. And now, we're going to go into is the people who are trying to get into the driver's seat of the car that is going along the road and slowly shedding parts. They say, well, I can drive the car in such a way that will cause all of the parts to fly back on.
They've already eaten their own legs.
And I mean, yeah, of course. And I mean, I think that realistically, right, this is why I say why I go back to sort of thinking about this in terms of sort of Starmer taking over the Labour Party and disconnecting it from people's real concerns. It is largely just that, this is the alternative. It is just an increasingly ludicrous display in the news to fill the large and growing hole where politics is sort of being demanded. Even if it's not actually happening.
I demand politics in my large and growing hole.
Because the thing,
I was
and
gonna
this is what I'll say,
The
right?
political economy of Britain cries out to have its holes filled.
That's right.
Which is that I note that all of these institutions of the British state, which many of which exist, I mean, to further the interests of British capital and so on, are at a point of almost terminal weakening. Reaching being governed
which
by
is good.
Yeah, being governed by a Tory party that is manifestly out of fake crises for now, at least, to fill the big politics hole at a time of unprecedented worker mobilization.
Yeah, and it's good. It's what they deserve.
Yeah.
These institutions deserve to fall apart. They deserve to be brought to ruin because they've already been brought to ruin by their own nature, and we've already tried to use those institutions to better people's lives, and it was met with nothing but hostility by them.
And so I think the other thing that this whole sort of what this reveals, the sort of reasons for removing Johnson, his removal itself.
Oh, I've got some reasons for removing Johnson.
Heyo. And then what people want to do once he's gone and they get in, right, is it just shows what happens when consensus ossifies and becomes rot. Right.
Johnson's departure from the politics hole may mark the first time in his life he's ever pulled out.
That's right.
Where you have to ask, what is political, which is personal conduct, personal background, personal values, and what is not political, such as tens or hundreds of thousands due to mismanagement or social murder.
How have multiple women let Boris Johnson raw dog it? Is the real unanswered
He clearly
question.
has a vibe. This is all we can say. I mean, that man, he must surely fuck. That's all we can.
You can watch him work his fucking shagger magic on Laura Koonsberg in that video where they're sort of shot like in a closed pub and they're sort of sitting and talking and she's interviewing him and it gives off such profound either we've fucked or we're gonna fuck vibes. Like, clearly it's just a magnetism thing. Now, I do think that there's an extent to which Johnson just kind of represented, I feel like this is such a cliche to say it, but like basically just throwing coffee in the face of your enemy, cold coffee, of course. You don't scald them. You just basically throw a tantrum and say, haha, fuck you. I'm gonna dump this drink on your head. Basically,
I've never wanted to own the libs that badly that to like look up and see that face.
but like that's, I think Johnson, not just, we're not talking about specifically sexual magnetism here. I just mean in general. I feel as though Johnson was always the comedy option. Johnson was the cry laugh emoji. He basically represented like, you know, making a well-timed stupid joke, throwing some Latin in when like the question is, how are we going to govern the seventh largest economy or ninth largest economy in the world, where the fuck it is?
How are we going to keep people from dying? And
how are we going to
that's the
keep people
answer.
from dying? And he just is like, he's going to quote Ovid and then make some joke about Bussy, which like is great on a podcast, but tremendous on a podcast. Please don't do that on a podcast because we already do it and we want to keep this niche that we've built.
I mean, to be fair, if you're quoting Ovid, you don't need to add the joke about Bussy.
But yeah, but that's what you see what I mean though, Riley. Like I feel like there's an extent to which if we're going to issue a sort of final judgment on this period before we talk about the freaks that are waiting in the wings to do Johnsonism, but even worse, I feel like we have to acknowledge the extent to which he was foisted upon us and the British public because he basically represented this sort of notion of like this ruffian who's going to throw up two fingers and tell you to go fuck yourself, you know, like piss off Ramoners, haha, we won, etc. He was just that. The novelty parody candidate, you know, placed to own the libs and tell people to fuck off, then had to govern the country through like a once in a fucking century crisis. And we, by all accounts, failed miserably. And now we're living in, you know, in the slop trough as a result of it. So I feel like the funny thing about it is I do not feel as though there has been any reckoning and there has been any acknowledgement of how bad they fucked it. I certainly don't think you'd get that from British media. And I genuinely think that the lesson the Tory party is deriving, maybe as a segue into what you're going to talk about next, Riley, is just do more of this, but be even crueler and also do more austerity.
Well, and the thing is, a couple of things. Number one is that the reckoning that they have with it is to remember Jeremy Corbyn as even worse in retrospect, because that's the only way that any one of these people
everything
can justify.
that's happening now would definitely have happened under Jeremy Corbyn. They say, and you're like, wait, but that's what's happening, and they're like, yeah, but it would have been worse under Corbyn. It's just sort of like, how could it possibly be worse than what's already happened?
And also, right, that
It would have been socialist as hell.
is to remember, right, that it's all of that. Anyone who was shocked by this, before we move on, this is who they chose, and this is their guy. It didn't work. Didn't work out for them.
Never ever let them forget it.
And you know, I think that I don't think there is much of a lesson that they can take from this, though, because I think Boris Trump comparisons are stupid and often are made on the basis of like, you know, quite
two men I don't like.
Yeah, two men I
Dumb
don't
hair.
like that are there. Yeah, and with sort of similarly stupid hair. The one thing I think it is worth saying though is that in both cases, both of them were creatures of the media, who were able to basically get by on being kind of famous, and being from TV. And
run roughshod over their own sort of like parties, institutions by virtue of sort of popular support, or claimed popular support.
But popular support that they were able to generate by being the kind of charismatic TV person who's
being
fun,
epic, yeah.
And I don't, and the thing is, like, the American Republican Party now and the British Tory Party now can't really generate another epic TV guy. You know, you can't just like try and turn.
Yeah, they spent all of their great person points.
Like, what are they gonna do? Fucking like Rishi Sunak is trying to be a TV guy, but he's the kind of like he is also the kind of like fucking like psycho who has just been in all of these great and prestigious positions for his entire life, and so of course is gonna be fucking weird.
Yeah, it's sort of like an LA sheriff's deputy. If Rishi Sunak ever takes off a shirt, you'll see the like full back tattoo of Ludwig von Mises.
And so it's just I don't know what
a thing I assume a lot of LA sheriffs
of
have.
course.
That's right.
I honestly think like that if I think that most of these people, I mean, I've actually read all of their pitches. It's remarkable how much consensus there is.
And how much transphobia.
Oh yeah,
and consensus
absolutely.
about the transphobia.
Apart from Grant Shapps, weirdly.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah, Grant Shapps, the man who's in favor of, I don't know, all this. That seems a bit of a weird thing to be obsessed about.
Yeah.
So critical support to Grant Shapps on that one.
The thing is, you can't be minister with responsibility for trains without interacting with a lot of trans people.
Yeah,
and it forms a positive impression.
Sorry, I thought you were saying transphobia.
Yeah. No, so I think like this is a long list of people, all of whom have just been career politicians, as opposed to like Johnson, who was again incidentally a career politician, who was mostly a columnist and TV personality.
The Oscars death list 2021. It's very long.
This is all a bunch of career politicians who all have said that they are going to bring about a low tax, high growth, high wage state, unleash the potential of Brexit, and also there's like everyone wants to expand the Rwanda program. So the difference between them is just a question of which themes you like. It's that why I actually
which one you think is hot, and the answer is always Penny Mordaunt.
I think the only answer of which potential leadership candidate could actually change the country, not necessarily for the better, but who was the only one that could actually plot a different course?
Well, Steve Baker would have gotten us all killed. Yeah. Liz Truss still might get us all killed.
No, it's I think Matt Hancock is the only option for real change. Not necessarily for the better. He's as stupid and evil as the rest of them, but unlike the rest of them, he's a very gullible, true believer in lots of different things, as opposed to, and it's very easy to convince.
That's why he's not as evil as the rest of them, because he's stupid. He doesn't have the same moral weight attached to his evilness. He knows not what he does.
I think
like look, some of what Matt Hancock does might kill your nan, but some of it might, like, I don't know, legalize weed. He doesn't believe it now, but I think he'd be easy to convince.
Yeah, it might legalize weed for your nan.
Honestly, if you played Matt Hancock an entire Sean Paul album, it might change his life.
He would have been so easily influenced by anyone. It would have been total unpredictability. But instead, we just have all of these deeply predictable people.
Matt Hancock legalizes ketamine by mistake, but also reinstates the death penalty for salvia. No one understands why. It just happened.
I think salvia sort of is the death penalty.
Yeah, I think he could like come up with a scheme to like get every boiler in the UK like doing cryptocurrency calculations, and that's how it like produces heat. And all to enrich a guy he met at the Jockey Club. Or he could also accidentally implement UBI while doing his own taxes. I think it could be any of that. So here's what we have. Look, we have Steve Baker, who
deranged. Yeah. When I seize power, sort of far right Brexiteer,
who in this sort of 4 hours as candidate says, "I will be relaunching Conservative Way Forward to redefine the territory in which the Conservative Party operates."
Yeah, tactical guy.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Already quit,
yeah.
I believe.
If you want to talk about tactical guy, there's of course Tom Tugendhat, of course. When asked,
yes, former intelligence officer of at least one kind.
Where
TA guy as well.
He said when answering the question, "What's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?" Because again, our media is, of course, as we talked about,
fields of wheat,
deeply unserious. He again gave an unserious answer as well, which is, "I invaded Iraq."
Well, you're in the intelligence corps. Don't hype yourself up too much.
Yeah, you were kind of many miles behind the front line, sort of following, you know.
Well, so it's but again, like I think that is quite telling, right? Of the none of this is serious. This is all a little fun game between friends. What's a million dead Iraqis? And it's because this is again someone who like definitely was happy about it and would do it again. You know,
but Tom Tugendhat's campaign he's just been using his first name because no one can pronounce his surname, so he's just been Tom, and his thing is a clean start.
Oh, he said it so many times.
I think, well, he really missed the trick in like not trying to brand himself as like a Captain Tom, like, successor.
Yeah.
I think he literally is a Captain Tom too.
He says,
Oh no, I think no. He was anyway.
So this is speaking to someone who he flew a mission with in Iraq. He talks like an anime villain. This person said, "Oh, I was in the second helicopter in that thing." Tugendhat replied, "Well, your minigunner nearly killed us. Luckily, he's a crap shot." He recalls now. Later that night, we went to the bar, and he bought the first round. I was standing next to the bar, and he said, "Your round next." And I said, "No, mate, it's your round forever, because you tried to kill me and failed."
That's just like epic army guy
But-
stuff.
Yeah,
The
we
Brit
love it.
version.
You said he was an intelligence officer. So
Mhm.
like, were they ferrying him around to like pick up a special tube of toothpaste at the PX? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck was he doing in a helicopter? Like his job is to sit in the nerd box and analyze nerd shit. That's what they do all day. Bitch ass. You're not gonna fucking impress me with that shit, Major Tom. Actually, Major Tom, if he is a major in the TA, would be a funnier thing to go by. At least it would ply off that boomer nostalgia for David Bowie.
He's made it all the way to Lieutenant Colonel. You'll be
This
pleased.
is ground control to Major Tom.
This is from his pitch. He says, "My view is clear. The Conservative Party must be a broad church that anyone can find their home in, whether young or old, northern or southern, renter or owner." How they're going to make a renter feel more at home in the Conservative Party, presumably by being
racist, probably.
creating some crisis that they're then going to promise to solve.
Hey, am I the crisis? I don't want to be the crisis.
Says, I'm putting together a broad coalition of colleagues that will bring new energy
Putting
and
together a
ideas to
team.
government, and finally, new ideas about what the crisis could be, and finally to bridge the Brexit divide that's dominated our recent history, but is done.
Bridged. It is bridged.
Yeah.
Like that. There is no party excepting maybe the fucking Lib Dems who want to revisit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Starmer is just like, yeah, we're gonna have hard Brexit, but I'm gonna manage it well, basically.
Yeah.
But Tom
We're going
said-
to have a responsible hard Brexit that's managed appropriately.
He says, of course, the full advantages of Brexit are yet to be unleashed. These are not listed. Taxes,
Citation needed.
taxes are too
Unleash the full advantages.
taxes are too high, and there's an emerging consensus across the party that they must come down. Of
You
course,
just put them up.
well, yeah. Well, you know what?
Your party
Yeah, but that was
just did that.
socialism.
Yeah, well, that was the
But
old
the
guys.
socialist Rishi Sunak. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, more than ever, we need a military-style grip on issues of crime and illegal immigration.
A military
dysfunctional-
style grip.
You know,
Dysfunctional and filled with suicides.
like a foregrip, maybe.
Yeah, a deep cut style grip. Yeah,
We're going to get a hold
fuck
on the
me.
country like Pete Buttigieg holding that gun in that picture.
Yeah, maybe some kind of.
No, this is the great thing, right? Is we can't even do like a war on drugs or a war on crime because those things have been so obviously discredited that now we have to do a military style
Yeah.
grip on
Tom
crime.
Tugendhat fucking holding Britain at the low ready, bringing things into martial law the next time someone makes untoward comments about Johnny Mercer's wife on the Plymouth Herald comment section.
The war on drugs has failed. We must begin the special operation. But it's like one of the things that sort of really struck me about reading all of these people is just that it feels like it feels like they're coming into the job, a job that they're going to manifestly fail at immediately. And then the question is just at what point are they going to be embarrassed into calling an election that they're just going to kind of, in my opinion, lose
to forensic Keir Starmer.
lose by default, essentially, because they've just fucked up too much for the last several years. But again, like, it just because of the manifest failure to come to terms with any of these issues, with any of the things that Nate, that you listed, the long laundry list of like where politics is needed in order to make people's lives better, or at least stop. There's a manifest inability to even recognize that they're there. And this guy's one of the people that the press are calling more reasonable.
I'm just gonna say it though. One thing, I know we've just gone through an enormous crisis and they fucked it really bad, but just bear this in mind. Given the nature of the British electoral system and the politics of this country in general, we are in year 13 of the Conservatives' reign of shit, if you will. But bear in mind, Thatcher ruled the Tories, once elected, with Thatcher in 79, ruled until 1997. They still managed to limp on. And I would just say this with all of my heart: if there were ever a Labour leader who could lose fucking Neil Kinnock style, 1992 Neil Kinnock style, after all the shit the Tories have fucked up, It is
Yeah,
Keir
we need
Starmer.
to keep Keir Starmer
So just
away
bear
from
in
the
mind-
sea at all costs.
I mean-
he cannot be allowed to fall in the sea.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, it's his. I think it's his to fuck up, and I fully believe in his ability to fuck it up.
Yeah, but if nothing else changes by default, if there were an election tomorrow, he would win probably.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
But then again, I mean, Ed Miliband was pulling ahead the entire time in 2015.
And again,
And anyway.
never count them out. Their ability to lose and lose badly, but also the fact that even should they win, that
Sort of the opposite of never count them out. Always count
them
the
out.
Labour Party.
but even should they win, I mean, Starmer now is saying that is basically saying, well, we still need to reduce the size of the state. We still need to get taxes down and so on. He agrees with all these motherfuckers too. So
Yeah, he is also a Tory leadership contestant.
it's who is going to replace Boris Johnson to essentially say repeat a bunch of platitudes into the legislation machine while continuing the long progress of of outsourcing and
what
shrinking the state.
flavor of it do you want? Do you want this tactical guy?
Yeah.
Do you want a tactical girl? Maybe that's who I want. Do you want like one of the culture warriors? Do you want?
I mean, because we've got what? Liz Truss, Suella Braverman, Priti Patel. Like,
Yeah, let's just blast through these real quick.
let's hear the list.
Nadeem Zahawi is a man whose role as chancellor coincided with when my internet at home got fixed.
It's a joke candidate. Very funny.
Can we just first of all congratulate Nadeem Zahawi on some of the most like messy bitch who loves drama behavior I've ever seen in British politics,
sure.
where
Yeah.
he insisted that if Boris made Liz Truss chancellor and not him, he would resign and call for Boris to go. So Boris made him chancellor, and he immediately put out a statement on the Chancellor of the Exchequer letterhead about how Boris should go.
You know that when you
And I'm
resign,
like-
you get £16,000.
Yeah, that's what I was
fuck.
going to say. It's like a game show. Would you like to gamble or would you like the £16,000 now?
And then Nadeem Zahawi has said today that he plans to fund tax cuts by cutting every government department by 20%. You heard that correctly. That's every government department by 20%.
Eating our arms and legs.
There's no legs left, Nadeem. Where are you going to find the 20%?
Because it's the pure. This is what we talk. We talk about insularity is the same thing we mean when we talk about like total separation of the actual experience of living here. Is because all your understanding of the world around you is just you talking to your little friends who you either like to get into a little club with or like to kick out of the other little club.
What's he going to do? Sell whales? Like what? There's nothing left. There's no services left.
Getting a little text from Nicola Sturgeon there, like, hey, got an idea.
I was thinking about Hussein's experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hussein, but didn't you have to go on your honeymoon on your Canadian passport because this just takes 6 months to get a British passport now? Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
everything.
like I won't-
and
yeah.
that's just one example of like, it takes 6+ months to get an appointment to take a road test for driving.
And the worst part is, right, we don't even have a sort of a Mediterranean culture where we know the government doesn't work, we accept it, and therefore we pay someone a bribe to get it to work for us. You can't even do that. You try and bribe a passport officer, you get arrested, and you still don't get your passport. It's bullshit.
I think this was also why when the pandemic started, I was doing like mutual aid in my area, like, lots of other people, and the mutual aid system like collapsed really fast. And I got very disillusioned with it. Not because like I didn't want to do it or like I didn't find it rewarding, but the fact that like even working within that type of like, even trying to build this type of mutual aid system in like a Tory constituency that oversees like is, one of the poorest boroughs in like, in Greater London, they just like hated each other and they were like actively distrustful of the people who really needed like, mutual aid. And like, there was lots of talk about like, these people are like scamming benefits. So like we shouldn't send a food parcel to them. And it's
We
like,
means test the mutual aid.
we have to. Basically, it was like we have to like means test the mutual aid. But when you're like, okay, well, how do you want to do it? They don't really have any answers of how to do it in any way other than like, I don't like this person, and I would like their life to be miserable if possible. And the police won't like because the police are so underfunded, they won't come and like knock on their house to like arrest them for going on a second walk. So I'm just going to deny them like a couple
That
of
should
tins
be the
of
motto
chicken
of
or
Britain.
stuff.
We are so alienated that we need a functional society to keep us from having to interact with one another. And yet here we go, needing to talk to people. I'm going to keep running down the list, of course.
Next.
Sunak, I mean, a putative frontrunner, widely hated by everyone else because he's a putative
I love
frontrunner.
him stealing AOC's campaign logo for
awesome.
Ready for Rishi. I love him going everywhere in his shirt sleeves. I love all of the videos that are emerging of him when he still had his accent from Winchester. Everything about him is hysterical to me. He's probably going to fucking win.
There are some photos that have come out which have shown his true height, and I just think that's very funny too, because for so long, like as I've spoken about many times on many different shows, he has a team of photographers that are obscuring how tall he is, and it all got ruined when Reuters took an image of him standing next to a very tall army officer. And finally, we realized that actually
he's
is
a very short man with the proportions
Conservative
of a tall man. So it's like an optical
Yeah,
illusion.
He's lanky. Yeah. Is the Conservative Party ready for a 5'4" leader?
And so, of course, he said he's going to restore trust, rebuild the economy, and reunite the country. Again, by not immediately reversing his own tax rises, but promising essentially the same thing, right? A return to fiscal credibility so that a wizard will invest money in various towns and so on. Things that have been promised to be for 12 years that have not failed, they've only been failed.
I just got to say this, though. I did see some polling, and granted, I think it was YouGov, but it was very funny because it was Keir Starmer, favorability versus all of these potential Tory leaders, leadership candidates. And it was Zahawi, it was Starmer plus 12. Truss, it was Starmer plus 8. But head-to-head with Sunak, it was Sunak plus 2. And I was just like, it is possible. It is possible for us to have a short king prime minister who actually beats Starmer in a general election, and
little guys,
two little guys, exactly,
poking over the dispatch boxes.
We actually we suspend the normal process to elect a prime minister and elect parliament, and instead it just becomes a contest between you have a final fight style bonus round of how many Deliveroo drivers you can mow down with your SUV. And honestly, Keir Starmer is already seriously ahead in that contest.
Well, the problem is, right, that Sunak is not liked by the Tory membership. So he's got to...
No.
I fully believe that the British public would vote for Sunak.
He's got to thread that needle of being popular with MPs and unpopular with the foaming at the mouth Tory.
Well, actually one of the really big reasons why they don't like Sunak is because they think he's too left-wing. They think he spent too much
socialist.
money during the pandemic because he was sullied by the business of actually having to govern and do things. Whereas the perfect angel that we're about to discuss next has not been sullied by those things.
Well, I think
you can project whatever you want
angel?
onto her.
What I think before we move on from Rishi, I think the one thing I want to say about his campaign video, which again I've unfortunately watched, is purely about his personality, his background, and his sort of and how that it confers on him a manifest fitness to govern. Because at this point, there is no longer really a credible case that can be made that you will do anything differently or anything that you do will work. Just that you sort of deserve to be given a chance, more or less, because you share an attitude that Britain is good.
It's all Hamilton shit, right?
Yeah. So, of course, the next person that we're going to talk about, of course, is one Elizabeth Truss, transphobic Bridget Jones herself,
opening up new pork market,
and she says
genuinely could get us all killed.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think she wouldn't just call Zelensky, she would ask Zelensky where he wants us to fire Trident. First of all,
yeah, genuinely, catastrophically, irresponsibly thick.
I've been called one of the most, I think, called defiantly vacuous. But again, that's perfect for this. Yeah, that's perfect for this mode of politics, of course, because what you just have to have nothing but a firm belief in everything you think and have the complete immunity to seeing anything rise up from below.
If Liz Truss ever becomes leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister, there should be a guy, a slave at a Roman triumph, who has to follow her around saying, Prime Minister, if you fire Trident, where will you buy shoes?
Yeah. If you doom all of us, then you will be doomed as well. Memento mori, likely.
You won't be able to get a cute little top from Liberty if you destroy all human life.
I was just thinking it was more along the lines of, like you said, a slave followed her around, just said, remember, thou art girl boss, endlessly.
No, I need one of those.
That would make the missile more likely. She said, under my leadership, I would start cutting taxes from day one to take immediate action to help people deal with the cost of living. Again, why do you think the taxes are up? What do you think the state was there to do?
Something awful the way we got all this low tax.
Yeah. Most
Thank you for that.
And they're all talking about, again, downsizing the role of the state, when it seems as though the state was the only thing that got us through COVID. I mean, not unscathed, very scathed, but not worse scathed. It's like, well, that'll never happen again. Time to go back to the Cameronite business of making a small state where we encourage people to have like close family relationships and other things that are free. She is, as I say, rightly described as terrifyingly vacuous. The other interesting one, I think, is former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch, who's
scares the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
I'll say that.
Who's basically, again, looked at all of the problems Nate has described, plus energy bills about to triple, plus inflation running at 11%, and said we need to deal with free speech on campus. And there's
if I remember correctly, she's extremely transphobic too.
Oh, absolutely,
hugely, which is why she was Equalities Minister. I genuinely like the purest culture warrior along with Braverman, and like fully gonna import some more US style hysteria, which is gonna have, you know, the sort of top level governmental sanctions at the at the one end, and also the sort of the stochastic violence at the other. Honestly, I'm amazed that none of these freaks have talked about changing the gun laws at this point. Like, it's the one thing left. What's a mass shooting between friends?
We are determined to like catch an American form of brainworms. I don't know why it is, like we have our own brainworms. It's fine. You know,
transphobia used to be ours, but now all of these fuckers are going, we're not doing it American.
Yeah, the bins. You know, we've got our own thing.
I think there is like I think there is a certain kind of British person that does like is this kind of innately like fascinated by like all the worst parts of America. I guess it's like the evolution of the guy that like goes to Florida once and is just amazed by how big everything is.
The wedge issues are so much wider.
But when I read sort of Kemi Badenoch's announcement piece in the Telegraph, what really struck me was this. You all remember the concept of luxury beliefs that get talked about in Spiked and stuff.
Oh yeah,
those things I am.
Yeah, like a luxury belief, for those of you who sort of aren't familiar, is basically like is their way of saying, oh well, if you
must be trans because you don't have anything else to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Any kind of sort of social progressive belief you have because you are rich enough to have it. Also, you're a degenerate. And I mean, to be honest, if you want to talk about luxury beliefs, it's carrying on like transphobic culture war stuff and fucking like free speech on campus stuff.
Earnestly caring about like, you know, conservative points of view getting bullied at uni.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of
caring
thing.
About
and all of this amounts to, by the way, it should be you should be shot by armed police for making fun of my like roller suitcase that I take to lectures.
It's like it's to focus on this at a time, to focus on like on pushing these things and rolling these things back, to be worried about these things from their perspective. Right, because worried about it from our perspective is worried about, well, fucking them. But to be worried about this from their perspective at a time like this, that's the fucking definition of a luxury belief.
To make fun of me taking an attache case into a 9 a.m. lecture is to be met with lethal force.
Yeah. Very disappointed to discover when I took my briefcase into the 9 a.m. lecture that there was no one actually else in the 9 a.m. lecture to laugh at me. Everyone else had been out having fun.
She says in her article, change does not mean reheated versions of 70s, 80s, or 90s policies. It requires a smart and nimble center-right vision that can achieve things. You know, things. Despite
what is center about her vision?
Is that she thinks she's reasonable. That's what center-right about it.
Okay, good.
But she says, this requires a smart and nimble center-right vision that can achieve things despite entrenched opposition from a cultural establishment that will not accept that the world has moved on from Blairism. Exemplified by...
It's grim, isn't it?
Exemplified by coercive control. Basically, it's like, we're going to like shell the NHS and the BBC. We're not just going to sell off Channel 4. We're going to like do our own. We're going to get like conservative comedians to like do MST3K over Channel 4 shows.
I genuinely think that Kemi Badenoch might be slightly more likely than Suella Braverman to take us to a sort of a Soros place in terms of culture wars.
Exemplified, I think that's probably right. Exemplified by coercive, because she's a copy of Spiked magazine, essentially, in human form.
Listening to her talk sounds like 3 clones of Milo all doing different Brendans at different times.
The Brendan in the round, you know.
It's exemplified by coercive control, the imposition of views, the shutting down of debate, and the end of due process. Identity politics is not about tolerance or individual rights, but the very opposite of our crucial, enduring British values. So she's basically going to, she's going to like come in and she's the spiked candidate who is going to just, again, try and like repeal a bunch of laws that don't exist. Like she's going to try to like make it legal to say woman. Like she's going to pass a law that it's legal to say woman. And that's gonna, and it's like, but you always could. You know, there's no law against it.
But there should be.
Yeah, that's right.
What are you talking about tarts for? What? So you can hang out with a bloke?
And then Suella Braverman, right? He says, "My belief in an efficient
it's Badenoch, but dumber.
My belief in an efficient low tax state was set early, and I owe a lot of that to my mom." Yeah, it's a standard story about personal background where like your mother like took you aside at the age of 8 and said that corporation tax should be 15%.
Yeah, if any of these candidates tell us anything, it's that like your own personal background or characteristics matter less than nothing to your policy.
Did nobody else's mother do that?
Yeah.
Is that just my mother?
And again, like
me and Suella?
She says, Napoleon derided Britain as a nation of shopkeepers, and he was right.
An incredible start to a paragraph, just phenomenal.
And he was right to do it.
Not the candidate that I expected to reference Napoleon. I expected Penny Mordaunt to be out there with a master and commander reference. But
Napoleon derided Britain as a nation of shopkeepers, but we're in danger of becoming a nation of regulators.
Conservative parties are now battlefields.
Let's make our own rules and grow the economy beyond the confines of London rather than sacrificing our recovery on the altar of net zero.
You don't want to do that. How are you going to do that with anything you have planned?
Yeah,
the altar of net zero.
Yeah, well, it's because anything but like coal and oil is effete and liberal and culturally elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she is the like one of the cry laugh emoji candidates, and that's great.
But weirdly, right? Like Jeremy Hunt, who sort of is like destined just to like be in every conservative leadership competition.
Always the bridesmaid. The thing about Jeremy Hunt is the Parliamentary Conservative Party love him. Everyone else in the world, including the members, despise him. What is he doing in Parliament all day to get this kind of support there?
I think Jeremy Hunt, the boring answer is that he's one of the more reasonable Tories. I think he's one of the ones who like has, as misguided as his vision may be, he actually has some ideas and would like to implement them to to achieve what he thinks of as a better way of doing things, whereas most of them are just insane.
Well, the thing is, he's locked in. He actually has locked in all of the other things as well. If you think that Jeremy Hunt's going to be like, okay, well, the Rwanda deportation thing is obviously insane. No, he says that they should expand it and include other countries.
Well, he was Theresa May's right-hand man. He's got to do a bit of immigration racism.
Although,
that's
to be
necessary.
fair, to be fair, I think what I think that what you're saying is not he's a reasonable person who would be sort of materially better in government. More just like
he's reasonable on a sort of personal level to interact with, which is why all these people like him.
Whereas Suella Braverman is the same politics but way stupider, and so you'd find yourself in a situation where she basically is trying to do Islamophobia but winds up accidentally mandating circumcision and then also blaming George Soros without intending to. Like, Jeremy Hunt just strikes me as boilerplate Tory, but his beliefs, he's framed as being on the left of the candidates, sort of slate, but his beliefs are
identical.
Firmly identical. Yeah, exactly.
He says his first things he's going to do, in addition to expanding the Rwanda deportation program, is cut corporation tax to 15% to try to create a low-tax, high-growth, high-wage economy. A plan I have never heard before. And I've never seen attempted before.
Have any of them not said low tax, high wage economy?
They have all said some version of that. Some have said a nimble state that enables wage growth. Most of them have said a high growth, low tax economy. Some of them say all three. But all of them have said we are going to do the same thing, which is cut taxes, and then we're going to throw you the red meat of culture war stuff, and then that's going to enable us to have the kind of economy that we've been trying to cut our way to ever since between 2010 and 1979.
How many more of these fuckers are there?
Not many.
Well, in many ways, they are like in saying that they are going to, in kind of putting all their chips on the culture war stuff. They are indeed delivering the type of country that low tax from something awful would have wanted.
That's right.
So,
thank you for landing the low tax joke. I was reaching.
I've had it in my notebook for like a while, so I've got to fit it in somewhere before
Where's
we
low
run
tax?
out.
Where
I'm
we
very
when you
happy with
need it,
myself.
you know?
That's right. I got just a couple more.
Where is
just a couple
she?
more.
All right.
Where did
yeah,
she go?
It's,
Riley's like supply teacher. It's Friday afternoon, 3:59 p.m. He's
So
desperately
hot.
trying to hold control of the car.
so warm.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly, like, again, to sort of finally answer your question, yeah, they've all promised this thing that they're going to do by doing the same thing that everyone has done for the last 10 years and hasn't worked. That's why I genuinely do believe that we might be at the end of a vandalism cycle and onto a institutionalizing the vandalism cycle after this, because there's kind of no gas left in this tank. There's kind of nothing left to do. They all seem very lost, to be honest. Their only sort of thing that they can really say, well, I'd like power because, I'd like it. And as you can see, I very much deserve it.
Who else are you going to give it to? Grant Shapps?
More or less.
He's not even going to do transphobia. Come on.
To be honest, that is kind of implied in every one of these articles. Like, come on, who else are you going to pick? Realistically. Let me be the one who gets to do the ritual.
You have to pick one of us.
let me be the one who does the ritual.
Don't blame me. I voted for Grant Shapps.
And of course, Sajid Javid, the Saj, of course,
the Sajmeister.
Big Eggman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when will he become the walrus?
Well, he said, I don't think we can have growth as a country until we have tax cuts. And so he's basically going to, again.
I'll simplify it a bit and go, I don't think we can have growth as a country.
You just put taxes up!
That's a criticism.
You were in government and you put them up! And also, it wasn't growing before that! What did you do? It's not going to work! It's never worked.
Well, of course it won't, because all of this is just rituals. It is incantations that you say before changing the person who's operating the machine that kills you and also is breaking.
Who next?
Of
the
course,
really sharp Sibian.
of course, the Penny Mordaunt, who I believe accidentally used a clip
Yes,
from
my
the
wife.
Day Today in order to
listen.
her campaign video.
She's okay. She's the other troop in this election because she's a Royal Navy Reserve officer, which means she's imperious, kind of, I would say, handsome rather than pretty. 100% like slightly domineering. Will she do all of this evil politics stuff? Sure, of course she will. Do I want her to fuck me? Of course I do.
HMS
Therefore,
Mordor.
my vote. Exactly.
Well, so I mean, the funny thing was, I think her campaign video just starts with, Britain has a prime minister who's a member of the Tory party, and the Tory party is undergoing a leadership election. Like,
she's really playing into the Navy stuff too. Like that leadership video had lots of photos of like big, beautiful aircraft carriers,
as well as big, beautiful Oscar
massive,
Pistorius
wonderful.
as well.
Oscar Pistorius?
And then
What?
She had a beautiful line at the end, which I'm going to be thinking about all week, which was in our nowadays, leadership has become more about the leader and not enough about the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. We need a boat person.
Yeah,
to be
that's
in charge.
right.
Yeah, that's right. A person of boat.
Too long has it been called? Look. Here's the thing. We've had lawyers come in and try to do the we're going to put down taxes and then create some kind of Singapore high wage economy.
Cameron was a PR guy.
PR guy. We've had a columnist.
He was a columnist.
Maybe a boat person will finally do it right. Maybe that's the ingredient that was missing.
Doing a naval-style operation on crime, which involves drinking like 16 bottles of port and falling off your own boat.
Yeah, we're gonna fire on crime from 9 miles away.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Britain. Here's your rum. Here's your sodomy. Here's your lash.
Yeah, that's
perfect. This is the candidate for me.
Wait, it's the bit in Tomorrow Never Dies where the naval like Commodore or whatever goes, Oh, we can't achieve a radar lock. We'll have to do this the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, well, we can't achieve a high growth, low tax economy like this. We have to do this the old-fashioned way, turning the big key in the computer from peace to war.
Yeah, exactly. Switching to guns.
And also, of course, Preeti Patel is, I believe, throwing her hat in, which is terrifying and needs no further explanation.
Need a woman who's like a gender swapped Nigel Havers and the Cruel Sea. I'm sorry.
No problem. Alice, you go deal with whatever this is. We're going to.
I don't think I'll
Technical
ever have dealt with whatever this is.
And we're gonna go. We're gonna sign off for our Boris Johnson / Rajiv Misra in memoriam episode. And
some Penny Mordaunt merch. Is she doing like T-shirts or something?
Yeah, you make a big foam finger. And I just want to say, preemptive congratulations to whoever takes over the social murder machine and gets to do social murder themselves and see if their plans would work.
Yeah.
And commiserations to whoever will have dropped out of the race by the time this episode drops in like 4 hours.
Commiserations to Keir Starmer, who has failed to win the Tory leadership contest.
Like, even if you lose, you win, because like even the
job
runners
fair
up are going to be exactly.
Tom Tugendhat doesn't think he's going to win. He's just like setting himself up to be like an important member of the
Minister of Defense.
Suella Braverman is not going to win the Tory leadership contest.
Let's not speak any of these things into.
Allow me to confidently say, with my hand on the lathe, Suella Braverman will not become.
If people really want to live, they really want to have fake taxi Singapore on Thames, then do it. Not much I can do about it now. You know what I mean?
Shut up before I come back there and lower your corporation tax.
we tried our best. We will continue to try our best, even though it may not amount to much.
With fake taxes.
Penny Mordaunt has been branded a woke warrior for the trans lobby.
Sure, why not?
I didn't think I could like her more.
Yeah.
Go off, Queen.
Anyway, look. I think that the point here, right, is that this is very much fighting to govern the ashes. But boy, do they want to govern the ashes. Also, you are the ashes, and also all of we are the ashes. Unless you're in America, you're different ashes. So I want to say once again, thank you very much for listening to this show. There is a Patreon. It is $5 a month. You can get a second episode every week.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The people are paying for it sometimes.
Every week?
Yeah, every week. Every damn week. Sometimes
you
more.
You can tell that it's one of those episodes because Milo makes a noise with his mouth.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been doing that.
But there's some other stuff coming up. We have an Edinburgh Fringe show on the 26th.
Yes, we do.
Can you buy tickets for it yet?
I do not know.
So
maybe is the answer to that.
You know what?
But the whole gang is going to be there. They have coaxed me out of my apartment. Like a little trail of Reese's Pieces.
A little trail of Penny Mordaunt.
If you want, you want to buy,
a penny.
If you want to buy a ticket to TF live at Edinburgh, Google is your friend. I'm sure
you can.
I'm sure you
go
can
on the
figure it
Edinburgh
out.
Fringe website and type in Trashfuture and see if it comes up or not. It will be available at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep refreshing that page, everybody. Otherwise,
save the dates.
I have shows. I'm doing the whole Edinburgh Fringe, 4th to 28th of August. My show, 4:35 at the Mash House. Come to that. Also, on the 22nd of July, I will be in Worcester. Do we have any fans in Worcester? I'm not sure that we do. It's a small town. On the 26th, and the ticket link is now up, I am doing a show in Manchester with Olga. Doubleheader. There's not many tickets for that, so do get those because
Manchester not being a small
that
town.
will sell out like immediately, I would think. So do get tickets for that.
Okay, cool. All right, well, congratulations.
Our theme song is "Here We Go" by Ginseng.
That's right. Here We Go by Penny Mordaunt.
Yeah, transphobia for some, tiny British flags for others.
Our theme song is "Please DM me, Penny Mordaunt."
Our theme song is a sea shanty sung by Penny Mordaunt.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.